Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Linked Together, the Art of Human Connection. My name's Leanne Isaacson and I am in Adelaide in South Australia. So the Art of Human Connection show, I've been bringing the human side of my LinkedIn network to the world really. So today I'm really excited to have on the show Anna McAfee from Coffs Harbour. And Anna has a consulting business, AM Consulting. But more recently, Anna has become she's the founder of the hashtag LinkedIn Local and the LinkedIn Local events, which have taken the LinkedIn world by storm with the events that are taking place. So welcome, Anna. Thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Really good. You're welcome. Anna, so as I said before, I'm in Adelaide in South Australia, and a lot of people that will be watching this show either live or on the replay probably have no idea where Coffs Harbour is. So you're in Coffs Harbour in Queensland. So can you tell us a bit about yourself and exactly where Coffs Harbour is and what it's renowned for, and just tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, Coffs Harbour is actually northern New South Wales. So you said Queensland, Leanne, but that's all good. I'll forgive you for that. We need to educate the market, don't we? Yeah, halfway between Sydney and Brisbane, east coast of Australia, northern New South Wales. So there's a lot of beaches where I am, a lot of mountains. The thing that we are known for, I think, at least around Australia, if not beyond, is something called the big banana. That is Australia has this idea of big things. So there's a big pineapple, there's a big prawn, there's a big lobster, there's all sorts of big things. And Coffs Harbour, it used to be a banana growing region. We now grow more blueberries, funnily enough. We have a big banana, and the locals are very fond of it. And so that's where I'm from. We're about 60,000 people, a regional city in
Australia. Goodness me, I can't believe I said Queensland because I know Coffs Harbour's in New South Wales. So sorry about that. So Anna, have you always lived in Coffs Harbour?
I was born here. I grew up here. I went to university in Brisbane, and then after that, I moved to Scotland for 10 years. So I lived in Edinburgh initially, and then Glasgow for the bulk of those 10 years. And then 5 years ago, I moved back to Australia and back to Coffs Harbour.
Okay, so what did you do in Scotland?
I worked in the recruitment industry. So, and funnily enough, that is how I got into LinkedIn. So I was the business manager for a recruitment agency across Scotland and Northern Ireland, sort of managing all the IT systems, all recruitment processes, training, induction. I think I was my remit was everything but recruitment for a recruitment business. So, but ultimately the IT, the management, LinkedIn came along. I started getting into LinkedIn. We had to learn how to train our consultants on how to use LinkedIn. So I was the person that did that, and the rest, I suppose, is history.
Okay, so you came back to Coffs Harbour, 5 years ago? So what have you been doing in Coffs Harbour for the last 5 years?
So when I came back, I worked for 2 years for a recruitment company that recruited for the mining industry. So a very similar job, except it was all online platforms. So rather than being like a bricks and mortar business, we were all in an online space because we were recruiting FIFO workers for mainly Western Australia, but also Queensland for the mining regions. So I did that for 2 years, and then I had my daughter, who is nearly 4. And then I have another child who's 2. So I've kind of sort of been doing bits and pieces whilst I was off on maternity leave. And I've been back sort of working probably a year. He's just turned 2. So, and I've been doing consulting work since then, and obviously LinkedIn Local.
So with the, within Coffs Harbour, like, is there, from a technology, like the population of Coffs Harbour, what did you say, 60,000?
Yeah, we're about 60,000. So we do have the NBN here, which won't mean much to anybody outside of Australia, but we do have obviously fast internet here, which is what the NBN is. We do have a really big innovation hub here in terms of an environment that's very trying to support and foster startups. We have a great co-working space here. It's called the Innovation Hub, but we, it very much, we get a lot of people living in Coffs Harbour who have left Sydney either for a sea change or a tree change, looking to escape the cities. Sydney's obviously a big one because it's closer. But we also have a lot of connections to Sydney. We have about 6 flights a day to Sydney. It's just an hour, less than an hour on the plane. So we actually have a lot of people who commute, in a sense of they might work 3 days a week in Sydney and then 2 days from home up here. Or their businesses. We have a lot of people that go back and forth to the city, for work reasons, yet they get the lifestyle benefits of living here.
Yeah. So so I suppose thinking about the LinkedIn Local, and so how did you dream that up one day? Is that, connecting and networking, has that always been part of what you do, or how did you come to be inspired to do that?
I think I've always been a people person. I've always been into LinkedIn. So online networking, I probably was better at than offline networking, I guess. But our engagement in Coffs is really low on LinkedIn. Like hardly anybody uses it here. And I happen to have some stats from a Sales Navigator account, a LinkedIn Sales Navigator account. I put them up on LinkedIn, and I had a few connections that I had actually been talking to in Messenger and I'd never met, but that were local. And those connections actually commented, and we were like, gosh, that is low, because not many people would be, know about the statistic. And so we sort of were chatting in that thread, and, somebody said, well, why don't we meet up? I thought, great, well, why don't we do it? So I ummed and ahed about it and asked a few people that I thought would support, and they said yes. And so I decided, I put it up on LinkedIn, and I said, I thought, well, let's give it a name, and actually let's give it a hashtag. Yep. And I think that is an important part of the process, because LinkedIn meetups aren't new. I didn't invent them. They've existed for years. But LinkedIn Local was new. And I think the hashtag itself, as we know, hashtags encourage participation. And so I think that the hashtag alone, I'm not a complete social media expert, particularly on hashtags, but there was something about that hashtag, I think, that people really went, okay, well, this is I could actually participate in this, and I could do this myself. And from the start, I said to people, if you want to do one, reach out. Let's have a few of us. Let's run something around the world and see what happens. And the post was very quickly picked up by Eric in Brussels, Alexandra in London, and Manu, who was in Toronto at the time, was moving to New York. So those were the first ones that worked and were held, and we chatted and, got to know each other. And then a lot of people started coming to us, well, what's your framework? What's different? What's happening around it? So I think that was kind of how it was born. And I think it was really a love of LinkedIn and a love of people.
Yeah. So the actual LinkedIn Local events, like really that's been an individual instigation rather than necessarily LinkedIn. So
absolutely. I've never spoken to anybody that works at LinkedIn. It's community driven. It's very much it's a not-for-profit initiative that people who just want to add value back into the local areas. The messages I get from people are very much, we're so connected in a digital world, but we're just not connected offline anymore. And I think also as well that the other thing, I think LinkedIn's name on it is, there's an implied accessibility to it, in that people look at it and go, oh, I'm on LinkedIn, so that's relevant to me. And so, I think that putting that on it as well does make it a little bit different.
And I think, from a local perspective, like having the LinkedIn Local, it certainly is giving people within specific towns, cities, an actual ownership of it, and that it is very inclusive, from a term perspective, but also the way that you've actually set them up. So when did you first run yours?
So it was the first Friday in June. I remember it was always the first Friday of the month. That's what I've done ever since. So it must have been the first Friday in June.
And so how many did you have there?
So at that event, we had just under 20. I think there was about 18 people. I didn't count them exactly, and actually I didn't document it with a photo, which I should have done. I've taken photos ever since, but I didn't on that first one. So I think there was about 18 of us. It grew. I was pretty connected. I was connecting to a lot of people locally at the time. So there was a lot of people that came that I hadn't met, which was really, really nice, and part of the reason for doing it. And then we've grown since. We're now between 20 and 25 people, which is a really nice number. We will get bigger. I'm hoping not too big, because I think there's a lot of value in actually going to an event and meeting all the people there, or at least 75% of them. And so I mean, some of the cities are running larger ones. They've got larger populations. They've got larger demand, and you've got to take that into account in some respects. But personally, for me, it's a smaller number is better.
So did you? So what time of day do you have yours? Because that's sort of like I'm organising a LinkedIn local in Adelaide in December, and it's interesting, like sort of seeing how LinkedIn locals are being run around the world, and even from a location perspective, from a from a time held. So like,
the first time I actually run at 7:30 in the morning, and ever since then we changed to 10:30, just because I think we have a large public sector workforce in Coffs Harbour, and so the working hours are a little bit different. We're also very coastal, and people are very spread out. So if people go home, they don't come back. And we've never really had any evening events in the area. Certainly not that are ongoing anyway. There might be one-off. There tend to be lunches or breakfasts or coffee mornings. So I just picked it, and for me, it worked for me personally because I have young children. So evening events are quite tricky for me to go to because I don't always have the ability to go to them. So it worked for me personally, and that is something I say to organisers: is you've got to do what works for you. Don't create don't create a problem at the start by picking it at a time. Having said that, though, most of the cities are running evening events, and evening events are working very well, particularly people, city centres or downtown. The evening events are working very well, and people are very used to evening events. I know some of the cities, some of the smaller areas in Australia, so Townsville, the Sunshine Coast, they've been doing morning ones also. And again, they're probably very similar to Coffs Harbour in that, the lifestyle is a little bit different. We're a little bit more laid back and tend to go to the beach after work. So, whereas in the cities,
that's maybe why I got confused between Queensland and New South Wales. So I'll run with that one.
Actually, the reason people get confused is I have the University of Queensland on my profile and then Coffs Harbour, and they see Coffs Harbour in Queensland, and then they go, "Oh, Coffs Harbour must be in Queensland." That's actually, you're not the first person to do that.
Yeah. No, that was not why I did it at all. It was just completely a brain fade. So that's okay. Anna, so I know that like what I did with some of my network was actually, and this is almost going to sound sacrilege, I actually put a poll into a Facebook group that I've been a part of that is quite active, just saying, this is what I was actually going to do, and putting some options of times and locations and in the group that responded, sort of, the evening, the 5:30 to 7:30 time slot was sort of what came back as the most appropriate. So again, it is really about who's your network and
exactly. And look, I am actually hosting an evening one in December. We decided to mix it up a bit. We realized actually in our group that a lot of us were self-employed or solo people, or they were people sort of kind of outposted perhaps from Sydney businesses as brokers or something. And so a lot of us didn't actually have a Christmas party to go to. So we decided to run our December one as our Christmas party, which is really, really fun. So, and that will actually catch in. I've got a number of people who can't come to the coffee morning. So what will be really nice is they will actually be able to come along to an evening event in December if they want to, because the time is a little more fitting to their working hours. And if it's popular, I may do evening ones every few months next year. We'll just see what the audience is looking for.
So Anna, where else? So I know that clearly Coffs Harbour was the first one. So where else have they been held, and how did you sort of come to to be linked with, some of the other, like I know that there's 3 others sort of across the world that have become, quite involved from a, even from a the aspect of, what a LinkedIn local looks like. So how did that all happen?
So first of all, the post I put up, which was, I'm going to host a LinkedIn local meetup in Coffs Harbour, was actually seen by a few people. And that, I think that in itself is the power of the social network. So Eric Eklund in Brussels, I think, was the first one, who, funnily enough, I wasn't even connected to at the time. So somebody in a mutual connection must have commented or liked it for him to actually see it. So he was immediately, I love this idea, I'm going to do this in Brussels. Alexandra, very quick. Again, she started one in London, and this happened with all in the space of 2 weeks. I had never spoken to Eric or Alexandra before this. We were not friends, business partners, anything. It was simply, we connected. They saw the post. They said they were going to do it. So we started chatting to one another. We had some Skype calls. Yeah. And Manu Goswami, who was in Toronto at the time, saw it. He commented and said, "Oh, great, I'm about to move to New York. I'm going to do this in New York when I get there." And so that was what he did. And he travels a lot. He did a really big one in Shanghai back in July, I believe it was. And so they were sort of the first ones to happen. And then since then, it's just been a snowball effect. Australia have gotten on board very quickly. A lot of the US cities, a lot of the Canadian cities, and we've had South America. A lot of them are in planning mode. We've got Africa. There's been 1 or 2 there. India, there's a couple of really, couple of the major cities in India organising ones at the moment, and Singapore as well. So in terms of Asia, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur. Yeah, it's really exciting. It's very much become a global thing on all continents.
Yeah, like I'm just playing a video that was of the London local meetup, and I mean, Rob, can you play some of that sound? Because it's a lot of people. We'll have a look at that perhaps a bit later. But the actual video of the London local has got the people speaking about how valuable it's been, and you can just sort of see from the video that it's really interactive, and it's just such a fantastic concept. And I think from like I've been on LinkedIn now for over 10 years, and just even the last 6 to 8 months, just the actual tone, from what I see, and clearly I'm just a little drop in the over 500 million LinkedIn users ocean, but it certainly has been that there's been becoming more of a human aspect to LinkedIn. And we're starting to see people, especially with the advent of video now on LinkedIn, people are starting to actually show more of themselves and start. We're all just starting to become more human and more personal on LinkedIn, and I think this is just such a we're all connected online, and it's easy to have conversations, but actually taking those relationships that you're building online to picking up the phone, but then then going to the next level, to meeting face to face, is such a valuable thing. You learn so much, and it gives you the opportunity to not just talk about business, but you can talk about mutual ideas, mutual interests, and you find out so much when you're actually talking to someone face to face, just in a conversation, in a in an informal atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think somewhere over the last few years, we've sort of forgotten that we do business locally, and so much depend on local business and the support of local businesses. I mean, and I think that this is sort of bringing in the whole idea of online networking and social networking back in, prioritizing that sort of local part as well. And I think that's important to a lot of people. And that's why so many people want to bring this to their city, because they just want, I mean, I've got co-hosts that I've connected who weren't previously connected, already working together, and they haven't even organized events yet. Because it's about having that ability to connect with people locally. And I think also as well, what I found personally within my own group is you meet people online. Sorry, you meet people at an event, and then you connect with them. And if the event is about LinkedIn, you are always going to connect with them on LinkedIn. And you then get to keep in touch with them throughout the month through their content. So you get to see what they were running workshops, their business won an award, all sorts of things that, we wouldn't normally know, except we're connecting with them online. And then you see them the following month, and you can actually really get to know people. There's an implied relationship before you go to the event because of the online connection. And that's something that asks me a lot why it's different. And, we didn't say at the outset, let's make it different. But there clearly is something different. There's clearly a human need for it right now.
Yeah, and there is a human need for it, and I think I was at a local business women's meeting in Victor Harbour in South Australia, which is well and truly smaller than Coffs Harbour, but it was interesting, like talking about why a local business would actually use would use LinkedIn, and why someone would want to be on there, and so like you're just a perfect example of being able to put local businesses together like through LinkedIn. So there certainly is a place for local businesses on LinkedIn, and like
Absolutely.
I said, coming from Coffs Harbour, you're a perfect example of that.
Definitely. It's it's mind-blowing actually that the number of people who agree with that statement. I'm not sure that LinkedIn themselves have particularly thought about it, but having that ability to connect locally through a social platform is, because we're all doing it. We are all doing location searches on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And so why shouldn't there be a way to where to actually go and meet those people?
Yeah. Anna, so if somebody wanted to, I'm conscious that we don't have a lot of time left. We could sit here and talk about LinkedIn Local and human connection all day, no doubt. So if somebody wanted to say host a LinkedIn Local in their own city, how do they go about it, and how can they get in touch with you to, because I know that there's, you've got some guidelines, and so how does someone go about actually doing that?
So the best way would be to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. If you're seeing this, one of the other organisers is fine, but if you're seeing this and you want to look me up, that's fine. Depending on where you're in the world, I might connect you with one of the others just from a time zone perspective. But we will have a tool in place where people will be able to go to find out more before they contact us. But at the moment, the process is contact us through LinkedIn if you want to host one in your local area. We will give you some guidance on what's been working, what people have asked us for help with. We've put together a guide, and we'll let you know what's been working around the world, connect you with other organisers that can help you promote events in sort of similar regions or other parts of your country. And yeah, it's I recommend it to anybody because it will add a lot of value into your local community.
Fabulous. Thank you, Anna. Look, thanks so much for joining me today on the Link Together, the Art of Human Connection show. Again, it's one of those things, you and I have connected on LinkedIn. We didn't actually know each other, well, we've had some messages to and fro between each other, but today's the first time that we've come face to face and had a conversation. So look, thank you so much for joining, and thanks to everyone that's watched live on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you to anyone that's watching the replay. Again, I'm Leanne Isaacson, and host the Link Together, the Art of Human Connection show. Also, I work with people. I coach you to connect. So please, if anyone's not connected with me, connect with me on LinkedIn. If I can help you connect better on LinkedIn and put you with some people that you might not have already been connected to, then please, I'd love to work with you. So thanks again, and bye for now. Thank you, Anna, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.